looking at kind of the etiquette around or how to handle things with, inviting or not inviting kids. So we've kind of talked about the invitation. That's where you're going to list the names. But should you go a step further and call and kind of explain the logic here, or just send them to the wedding website? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on how close you are to them and how, like, worried you are that they're going to just go rogue and bring the kids anyways.
Sure.
And how worried you are about hurting their feelings. So kind of those three considerations. If you're worried about hurting their feelings and you're very close to them, you should probably call them and explain. If you're worried they're going to go rogue, you should call them and explain. So that's kind of the recommendation that I have. I would also make sure that, like, your VIP is like moms and dads and sisters and brothers, and maybe if you're super close to aunts or whatever, if you have a big family, that they kind of know and they know your reasoning and like what to say when people ask them.
Right.
That way, like, if their friends or maybe like other family members you don't talk to on a regular occasion ask, they can kind of give the answer, so you don't have to like call every single person who has a kid.
Yeah, because that would take a while.
Yeah, and it's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not gonna be fun.
No, it's not.
So if children are invited, do I need to make special arrangements for them? So like we kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, but like I guess outside of childcare, are there other things that you can do for them to keep them entertained?
Yeah, so there's definitely other things you can do. Kids get bored, period, but especially at a wedding reception, which is not overall very kid-friendly.
I'm pretty sure it's very kid-friendly. It's kind of like going to an amusement park.
Sort of. Kind of like the opposite for kids, I think. I mean, it's fun for adults.
Then I think there should be a ball pit. I think that's step one, right?
No, there's a lot of fun things you can do. You can bring games. You can set up a TV, maybe in like a back room that's playing movies. You could have coloring books. I've had people who've done like cute little like wedding, like coloring pages that would be like in place of a menu card at their place setting. So that's really fun. So there's different things that you can do to like keep them occupied. People love having like lawn games and like big like giant checkers and things like that. So like if you have a lot of kids, then maybe you make sure to invest in that. So there's like outside things to do for the kids. So those are different things that you can think about.
Right, those are a lot of fun. The coloring book, that's brilliant. Would you just go to like Etsy or something? Yeah,
you can. You can go to Etsy, or I mean, I've had people create like custom ones with like them on it. Like there's so many fun things you can do. Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah,
I'm kind of want one now.
All right, I'll print one for you when we get back to the office.
Perfect. Again, I am a child.
With your chicken fingers for lunch.
Yeah, obviously, and honey mustard. Will they still? Will they still? At least we amuse ourselves.
We do.
Yeah. Will they still need a seat and a meal?
Most likely the answer to that is yes. So you will be paying for them. You won't have to pay for them at the bar, although sometimes you will have to pay for like a drink package for them to drink like sodas and water and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Which is obviously going to be much cheaper than the liquor. But yes, so most likely you need a seat for them unless they're under the age of, 2 and they're going to sit on someone's lap.
Right.
A question to know is, do you need a high chair? If you need a high chair, does your venue have a high chair? If your venue doesn't have a high chair, do you have to rent a high chair? So things to think about when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And yes, you will have to feed them. So they will have to count into your food count if you decide to have them seated with you in the main room. If you have them maybe in another room, you would still have to obviously usually pay for their food. Sometimes you can bring in like pizza or Chick-fil-A or Jimmy John's or something. I'll say most likely not, especially if the venue is a caterer.
Sure.
You're probably going to have to go through them. But it's something, again, you can ask in that initial phase if you think you're going to have kids.
And are they getting the filet or the salmon, and are they getting the same meal? And is it the same cost?
Depends. If they're getting the same meal, then generally, yes, it's going to be the same cost, unless they have they make a smaller portion for the kids or something.
Right.
But most caterers can do a kids meal, which is going to be, what you wanted for dinner. Chicken fingers and,
shaped like dinosaurs.
Sure. Macaroni and cheese, whatever. Sure. If you have like a buffet or stations, then they might do like a reduced cost because they're not going to eat as much food as an adult, but then they would, obviously get the same thing from the buffet or stations. So it just depends. It's something to talk to about with your venue.
Interesting. So I'm going to put you on the spot. So So generally, on average-ish, approximately, what would a kid's meal typically cost? Or alternatively, if you aren't comfortable throwing numbers out, what percentage of like an adult's meal would it usually be? Is it half off? Is it 75% off? Like whatever you're comfortable answering here.
I mean, I would see.
I'm just curious. No one else
kids
cares.
meals.
Just me.
I mean, I would see kids meals running between $20 to $40, depending on.
Got it.
Okay. How much your adult meal costs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So it looks like I've jumped the gun here a little bit, but babysitters, do they count as guests?
Imagine that.
Interesting. Who would have thought that you would have thought this through?
If your babysitter has a seat at a regular guest table, then yes, they are a guest. If they're in another room, then they will probably be eating whatever the kids are eating. Or you need to think about feeding them. They can't leave.
Sure. If you're chasing 20 kids around the room, you should probably be.
So just like your other vendors, you should feed them. But maybe they eat a vendor meal, which is a cheaper cost or something like that.